Are you listening to your little voice right now telling you, is it worth watching this video and listen to this topic, or I could rather go on Instagram and scroll through some things, scroll through my feed, talk to someone, feel better in the moment? Well, is this video worth it? Or I think I should watch this video because I do face this struggle. Well, all that is going in your head right now is your little voice, and in this video you'll be learning about how to tame this little voice through some ways that I'm going to talk to you about. And this comes from one of my mentors experiences and his books called Little Voice Mastery by Blair Singer. So if you feel that you are suffering because of this little voice quite a lot, comment I am committed to dealing with it. Just comment I am committed, and that will show to you, that will affirm to you that these 10 minutes are going to help you just change this thing about yourself, and maybe you don't know, even change your life. So the ways to tame your inner critic, to slay the dragon within, is by implementing the strategies that I'm going to talk about. The first is that you got to acknowledge that you have this little voice ringing in your head. Blair very rightly says this, that the distance between where you are and where you want to be is the distance between your ears. You know, that little voice between your left and right ear that keeps ringing at all times. That's exactly what stops you from being where you want to be and where you are. So you need to first acknowledge that you hear this little voice, this inner critic inside your ear, and a lot of you may even believe that the last inner chatter that you had in your head, you might be acting right now because of it. Because I felt like I cannot record a great video, I postponed it for the longest time. And it was only when I acknowledged that this little voice is telling me something that may not serve me the best, was I able to counter it and today shoot the video in front of you. So you first need to acknowledge that you have a little voice, and the second step is to identify the pattern. When is it that you hear your little voice the most? Is it when you are doing something uncomfortable? Is it when you are doing something that you feel you are not the most confident about? Is it when you are playing and your inner voice is telling you that I cannot do this? Or you are at your work, or you are talking to your partner, or somewhere or the other in your life, that this little voice comes out the most and affects your actions the most. So you need to identify your pattern, just so you know that this is the place it surfaces the most, and this is the place where I need to tame it the most. So second, you need to really identify the patterns, all the times that you hear this little voice. And once you are able to do that, try to understand the root of it. Where is this dialogue, this little voice coming from? Is it coming from some experience that you had in the past, or some advice someone gave to you? What is the root of it? Why are you carrying these beliefs or these thoughts about yourself? Once you are able to identify that, all you need to do is go within, go back to that incident, and whatever it is that the other person told you, or that experience made you feel or made you think of, just give it back there, because you know it's not serving you in the best way. Just give it back to the person, to the incident, to the experience, and affirm to yourself that this is not your reality, this is just your little voice, this is just your thoughts. The third way through which you can master your little voice, tame your little voice for that matter, is by coming up with affirmations. If you know that it is when you are working that this little voice comes to you and tells you that you are not good at your work, just tell yourself, I am great at it and I can do it. You know, it's so powerful. Very recently, when I was going for a trek and I was supposed to do a very difficult thing, like I was supposed to walk in the coldest of water, and my feet were going numb, and I tried it once but I couldn't do it. The next time I tried it, I did it, was when I was telling myself in my head, I can do it, I can do it, and I kept telling that to myself. And guess what? I was able to go through that whole stretch and get through that whole trek for that matter. And the feeling was honestly priceless. The thing that I go back to every time whenever I'm faced with something that's challenging for me. So all that you need to do is have your affirmation where you just tell yourself that you can do it. If you see that if your little voice keeps telling you that you are not good enough, your affirmation is I am good enough. And you know what, you got to repeat it to yourself enough times so that you start believing it and embodying it. Another way through which you can do is train and practice yourself in the skill that your little voice tells you the opposite about. If you feel that it's your work that it shows up the most in, then really practice your work. If you feel that your skill can get better, and it always can, right? So you really need to practice that. Practice, and trust me, you'll get there. I was not really good at shooting videos initially, but it's only now that I feel I've gotten a little better, if not more. So, this is your key. If the little voice shows up in something, you prove it wrong by doing the very thing that you feel will get you to a place where your little voice does not even, come to the surface anymore to tell you that you cannot do it, or you are not good enough, or you do not deserve it. Just do the opposite of it and prove to yourself that you are good enough. And the third way is that you acknowledge and celebrate each of your wins. So many times we discount our efforts or discount the result by saying that I just got lucky, or that I don't really think I did it, someone, God or the universe made me do it. I have seen this happen to so many people, this being their dialogue, and even for myself in the past. But now what I do is really acknowledge anything that I've done and celebrate that win, because it's only when you uplift your energy will you be able to do all the other tasks that are in line for you and move closer towards your goals. So it's very, very important that you celebrate, acknowledge and celebrate your wins. And the fourth way is that you take coaching or professional help if you feel that you are not able to understand the root of your little voice, or that it's bothering you to the extent that it's hindering it's just making the quality of your life worse. It's a great idea to seek help. Seeking support is like the strongest, shows that you are really strong, because being a social animal, you know that it's only with other people that we shine the brightest. So take support of a professional and try to understand what your little voice is telling yourself. And if you think you need to tame it, you do that with someone else's support by doing all the things that you can. And a great tip to you that I have only started applying very recently with the help of my mentors Thaddeus and Blair is that don't give in to your fear. Just when the fear comes up, be courageous. Tell yourself that you can do it, that it's not the end, that you are good enough, that once you do it, you will actually be courageous, you'll be fierce. So start telling yourself that you are not the person who gives in to their fears. You are the person who acts despite fear. And this is also how you really tame your little voice, because you keep proving to yourself that you are your person. You are not what goes on in your head. You are what you do. These are all the ways through which you can tame your little voice. Let me know in the comments below what works the best for you. Thank you.